Hello, manga and anime lovers. I'm Branch, and today I'm talking about episode 4 of Mysterious Disappearances. I have to say, Otto is becoming one of my favorite characters in this season, despite what I said when we were first introduced to her in episode 2. This episode might actually be my favorite of the season so far. It's only episode 4, but my goodness, this episode was everything I could have wanted for character interactions and character progressions and showing the intricacies of each and every person in this show. One of the criticisms I have had consistently with this show is that the pacing feels way too fast. And this episode is basically the antidote to that. I really wish every episode was like this one. And I have to say, I will eat my words. This was not a fan service episode like I thought it was going to be from the preview. The preview showed them in the bath, and the bath was all of a couple minutes in this entire episode. And that wasn't even the most fan servicey part. The most fan servicey part was with Sumireko in her apartment at the beginning by herself, when they added a whole bunch of physics when she was moving around. Even though she wasn't wearing anything particularly revealing, it was just regular loungewear you would wear around the house. Now, this episode focused mostly on Otto and Sumireko's cohabitation. That's not the right word for it. On Otto and Sumireko's sleepover? Yeah, sleepover. Because Adashino had to go get his eyes healed. I initially thought he was going for his burns, like Otto said. But no, he was going to visit this old acquaintance he has to get his eyes healed. And we never figured out exactly what that entailed. I assume it will either be left for as a mystery, or we will learn next episode. But not a lot happened with him, although I have to say Adashino's eyes being all red and bloody was a really nice visual. I really like that. And we had some really cool animation with the old man as well. But I don't really have too many thoughts on that, except that he's obviously someone who has helped them out, and he seems to be a dealer of black market, or cursed market, I guess, items. He has a bunch of IDs and things of that nature to help the siblings get along, and I assume other people get along in this world where they don't belong. Now on to the main content of the episode, Otto and Sumireko's interactions. I really liked all of them. Sumireko especially, you can really feel her maturity when she interacts with this teenage girl, and she's so patient with her. She's like an older sister or an aunt. I really liked everything that happened between them. And Otto too, she is still a bit jealous of Sumireko, and she hasn't quite opened up to her yet, but she's a lot nicer around her, and you can really feel that innocent nature of kids around her age, where she's angry, but not directly at Sumireko. She feels alone, she's angry, and she's frustrated, and all those things, and Sumireko handles it wonderfully by treating her and making sure she feels comfortable and at home. She doesn't even question why Adashino leaves his sister with her. Especially not in front of Otto. She just accepts her almost instantly. And I really like that. Everything about her just makes me think that she's an A-plus person. Sumireko is one of my favorite characters in this show. Now, I don't really want to recap the entire episode because that would just make things go on too long, but I will point out some things that I noted down that were very interesting, I feel. We saw the teacher at the beginning of the episode when Adashino and Sumireko were at their job, which hasn't been seen since episode 1. I like that we got to see that a little bit. But I was really surprised to see the teacher this soon, and I actually was really annoyed at first because it seemed like they were going to just wave away everything that she had done. But no, actually there is a little more going on behind the scenes than I initially expected. It seems that the bracelet had actually influenced the teacher a lot to be more aggressive. They don't necessarily say it, but she does say that she feels like a weight's been lifted off her shoulders, even though she still has the Oni horns. So we'll see where that goes. I'm really interested. I don't think the teacher will be that important of a character going on, even though we seem to be going back to the school next episode because Sumireko just can't leave her youth behind her, even though she tells Otto that she's not jealous of her youth. She definitely is. Even if it's not as bad as it was in the first episode, she really wants to live out her youth again, so she's going back to the school. And I like that. If we get another episode like this one, then I will be all the happier. Another thing I noticed is that there are black and white cats everywhere. I believe it was last episode there was a white cat. I can't remember where, but I remember seeing it and noting it down. And this episode there was a black cat in front of and inside Sumireko's apartment. I have to think that they're familiars for somebody, and Tadashino seemed to know what Sumideko was doing, so maybe he has something to do with it, or maybe he just made a good guess like he said. I don't know. Aside from that, one thing I forgot to mention, and this has been prevalent in the past 3 episodes, Adashino and his sister Ulto can communicate telepathically. I've kind of forgotten about it since it was put to the back burner, but this episode they went into it again, and it makes me think that they are definitely not human, although I'm beginning to think that maybe they are just cursed humans, like Sumideko is, or the teacher is. After all, Adashino's symptoms are very similar to when Sumideko was using the cursed poem back in the first episode. And also, Ulto can seem to make plants grow. She was doing it at the beginning, or she made them sprout, so it will be interesting to see exactly what her power is. I'm looking forward to that. Another thing I really liked about this episode was Sumideko and Adashino's interactions. As always, the comedy between them is really good. At the beginning, Adashino saying for each cuckoo call that people hear, it tells them how many years until they get married, and he keeps making the noise to imply that Sumideko won't get married for a long time. I thought that was funny, how they bantered back and forth like that. Anyway, something more important, and probably the main mystery for the episode, is that we see a glimpse into Adashino and Ulto's backstory. We see Ulto has a dream about her brother coming from a giant portal. I assume it's mostly metaphorical, although there might be some more to it than that, because we're not exactly sure how they are related, if they are actually brother and sister. But aside from that, even more so, one thing I really liked is the ramen scenes. In the middle of the episode, after they take a bath, Sumideko and Ulto go to get ramen, and that's where Sumideko begins to question them on where they came from, and Ulto points up when she goes to speak about herself, and then says she doesn't know, or something along the lines. And I'm wondering, it's been implied that they came from another world, so does that mean she came from heaven, or in a reverse world, or up in the sky? It's too vague right now, but it's got my mind wheeling. But the emotional aspect of this episode is that she says she's never had ramen before, and she really likes it. She even asks for a second helping when she's eating with Sumideko. But at the end of the episode, we get a post-credit scene where her and Tadashino are little kids, and they're out by the bank of a river, obviously either homeless or living out of the station like they are now, and Tadashino is making instant ramen for her. And I found that really sweet. It brought everything together. It shows really how important Adashino is to Ulto. And now as she's beginning to accept Sumideko, if this doesn't end in a tragedy, I would expect the series to end with Sumideko and Adashino getting together. And at that point, Ulto would be okay with it. Aside from that, I don't really have much else to say about the episode. It was really good, really heartwarming. I like all of these characters about 50% more than I did previously, especially Ulto and Sumideko. And I'm really looking forward to how the rest of the season goes by. Although I will say the art did go down a bit in the first half of this episode, but everything else more than makes up for it. Until next time, hope I see you here. Bye!